just so happen to be able to attract the top 10% of that graduate cohort. So I guess we as an organisation try and support our teachers wherever we possibly can. We do need to look at remuneration packages to make things more attractive, but again, it's more about that social status of how teachers are perceived. And you'll hear from our teachers this afternoon that there are many misguided assumptions of how teachers' realities are, what their day-to-day work is like, and we really need to start dispelling some of those myths, such as teachers, do a 9-to-3 day, they have 12 weeks holiday a year, etc., etc. So I'm sure you'll hear firsthand that is absolutely not the case. Secondly, the other kind of key area that came up in the research was that we need to reduce the disparity between Australian schools. So this is a fairly obvious one. We've got a wide range of socioeconomic factors that affect our schools here in Australia. And ultimately there is a huge disparity between performance between the lower socioeconomic areas and the higher socioeconomic areas. And again, this really needs to stem from policy. How are the resources distributed? And how, in terms of the schools themselves, how are the resources distributed across sectors, etc. Again, that is very much a government policy issue, and one that is also a state-based issue as well as a federal one. The third one, which Kimberlin definitely tries to play a part in, is the designing of a 21st century curriculum, and it's something that we're all really passionate about here. So we understand that gone are the days of knowledge-based teaching, so rather than standing and trying to educate students on a particular concept through a knowledge base, what we really need to do to prepare them to become 21st century learners is to start instilling a skill set, a mindset in our students. It really looks at entrepreneurialism, it looks at critical thinking, it looks at problem solving, it looks at teamwork, and that's what we try and do here. And our teachers are going to talk about that in the panel, and also Katie Brodie is going to be talking about that in her guest talk. Number 4 was promoting flexible learning arrangements focused on growth. So this is very true for a lot of countries around the world, not just Australia, that we are still very much steeped in a traditional education model where schooling is based on students attending on their age, and then they're designated into a year level. There are some composite classes, which means there might be a year 3 and 4 class, there might be some 8 and 9 and 9 and 10-year-olds together, but ultimately the curriculum is still looking at banding students based on their age level and not their skill level. And there is a huge shift that needs to happen from a federal level to change that. What we can do when we're developing resources, though, is look at how we can start to differentiate the resources that teachers are using and how we can support them in differentiating their curriculum, their teaching every day, so that the students who are coming into school are being catered for at their level. So we know that by year 3, there is a 6-year difference between the least able student in the class versus the most able student in the class. 6 years that teachers have to cater for, and our curriculum simply is not equipped to do that. Even though it's just had a massive overhaul in 2008 and it's just being rolled through now, it really still misses the mark in terms of differentiation and catering for the flexible learning needs of all of our students. And the big challenge that was identified is meeting the needs of children on trajectories of low achievement. So how do we really look at supporting the students, not only from the lower socioeconomic areas and backgrounds, but also from languages other than English, or looking at learning difficulties? You'd be surprised that in many schools around Australia, those learning difficulties are still not addressed or identified early enough for contingencies and support mechanisms to be put in place for those learners. So if you've got a learning disability and you don't have that picked up in your first few years of school, and you get into year 3, can you imagine what that 6-year gap actually looks like for you? It's probably much greater than that. So all of these are issues that Kimberlin hold at the core of what we try and support our teachers in every day. If you'd like to learn a little bit more, just for your own personal reading, Jeff Masters, who was the author of this white paper, you can just go to ACER, ACER, the Australian Educational Council chapter at all. But I'd like to now hand over to our amazing guest speaker this evening, Brodie. For the past 2 years, she has enjoyed her role as Head of Differentiated Learning in a large independent school here in Sydney. This role is within the senior school and involves working with heads of department and their teachers to do design learning experiences that address the diverse needs of the students. In particular, her role is to build teacher capacity and confidence around extending and challenging the high potential learners, which includes the gifted students. She has a passion for embedding technology into rich experiences for students and is working with the executive team on ways to encourage the dispositions in students that they will need in the future workplace of tomorrow. So I'd like you to all join me in welcoming Katie.
Thank you for that lovely welcome, and my bio sounds a bit at the top now that I hear it out loud. Embarrassing. No, I really am a very passionate educator, love what I do, and I'm thrilled and really privileged to be here amongst all of you to talk about trends that I've seen over the last 18 years. I guess where it all started, hopefully I'm using the right hand side. Okay, so these were our classrooms of the past, and here we have the rows and we have the teacher as the sage on the stage imparting the content, and the students all well disciplined in their rows, and here we look at classrooms of today. Ouch! So there's really not a lot of change there, which is really quite frightening, to be honest, considering the changes that are happening in the workplace, considering the changes that are happening in the new generation. So that's very much what we will still see in many classrooms across Sydney, but it's changing quite rapidly. In terms of my experience, when I first started in 1999, we were chalkboards and there was desktop computers in a separate room that we had to go to in our assigned time. And in a very short space of time, in under 10 years, it really moved from chalkboards to whiteboards, then to smartboards. We thought that was just so incredible, and then now it's really the digital boards. And in terms of the devices, again, it really was a room with the desktop computers, and then it became a room with laptop computers, and then it was a couple of laptops at the back of the classroom barely used, and then it was a cupboard or a cupboard, like a movable storage system that would bring them into the classrooms, and now we're really at one-to-one devices. But what happened is that we still maintained the rows, we still had the sage on the stage, we just had a digital board to look at instead of the whiteboard or the smartboard. So we did get a level of engagement because it was like TV. There is the interactivity, which was engaging for a period of time, but the kids are still sitting and watching a lot of the time, and they really, yes, they were brought to the board to try some of the learning, but it really hadn't been transformative as such. This SAMER model, some of you may be familiar with, and what this is looks at the way that technology can be used in education. And here we have a class that have got their own device. So we've moved from them all watching the one device to now they're watching their own device, changing the learning dispositions of the students. Yes, a little bit more engagement. Yes, some difficulties around not using pens as much and pencils as much as a side issue, but it hasn't necessarily been transformative. So we're not really redefining or modifying what it is the students are doing in their learning. Through to the universities and then definitely into schools where we need to change what we do to suit the workplace of the future, or the ones that we don't even know exist at the moment. There's a lot of talk about that obviously in the media. And if you look on the right-hand side, there's project-based work, and it's really people-centric, and many different careers. The kids need to be adaptable. It really is, as Naomi said, about the skill set and the ability to work together and collaborate and these are the 21st century skills that the curriculum is really encouraging. Creativity of ideas, creating ideas, being able to communicate, as we said, collaborating, just on and on, critical thinking, critical creative thinking. There's a big push across the whole curriculum for these particular skills, more than content, because as Naomi was saying, that they can Google just about anything. So I wanted to show you these photos as an example of, this really is the way that students are learning a lot more these days. And the trends that I've got on the side, really only a few of them. I'm sure our colleagues will be, suggesting some other ways in which schools are working. But a lot of teachers, a lot of programs are looking at big conceptual ideas. Project-based learning, inquiry learning, and challenge-based learning would be models to look at if you're looking to see what processes are schools using to create that ability to work and collaboratively and to solve problems. So those are some learning models that would be excellent if you're interested to see what that means. Visible thinking, a lot of schools are looking at, and that's what the two images on the top are showing. Visible thinking is a set of routines that make thinking visible. This is making thinking visible. And what it's doing is it's bringing together students to deepen their understanding. And these routines, they really are, like, for example, a think on your own, pair up with someone else, now share. Simple routine, but when you are addressing bigger ideas, it builds that sense of collaboration and deeper understanding. Flipped learning is where students are learning the content out of class, out of school hours, and so they come to class ready to actually engage in activities that deepen that learning or address or consider all the ideas. STEM and STEAM, you may have heard of: science, technology, engineering, the arts and maths. And of course, coding is becoming ginormous because of all the artificial intelligence taking over our world. And also the innovation process. So with these sorts of approaches to teaching and learning has come a shift towards changing learning spaces and a real shift towards the pedagogy that's required to teach the students in this way, or to support the students in this way. So I guess what I've been looking at is some products. Down the bottom you can see these are some of the tools I use in my teaching and that I encourage our staff to use, because what I feel is that they do redefine what was not possible before. They really do, this makes the technology allow for real, genuine change. They're doing something that wasn't possible. They need to be able to layer applications, so use a number of these simultaneously or get to one through another. And they need to be able to document their learning process, because that becomes part of the overall assessment. And also message boards for group discussions really have allowed quite different ways of learning for students. And these are the sorts of things that I find are a bit of a letdown when it comes to the products that we're offered. Most of the time it's focusing on content delivery only, and that's set and forget teaching pedagogy that is basically encouraging the teacher to be lazy rather than really engaged in their teaching. They want to be able to assess that students have met the requirements. They need analytics, so they need to be able to monitor student progress over time, so they do need some sort of system of monitoring. They need to be able to provide that feedback and support for students or extension. Adequate stretch is a must. There's a lot of research around the underperformance of our highest ability students in Australia, which is quite woeful, so this is really, really vital. Teachers do need tools that they can manage really easily and visually appealing. The kids are really discerning about clean interface. And develop the learning dispositions in the students. I had a chat to Naomi about the learning dispositions and whether or not that was relevant. What that basically has to do with is students' desire to engage in something that's really difficulty, what we call Nottingham's learning pit, or you may have heard fixed and growth mindset, Carol Dweck. So really trying to develop intrinsic motivation. Daniel Pink would be someone to read if you're looking about motivation. And ultimately it's purposeful, learning and teaching, powerful and impactful. And as part of, Naomi mentioned I was part of a team with the Association of Independent Schools. We were working on a project called Elevate, which is agile design for high potential learners. And part of that program is to do some ethnographic work, so to actually interview our students about what's missing, what do they need, what inspires them, and this is what they've come up with. They want choice. They want choice about how to engage with the content. They want choice about what process they're going to go through to engage in that content. For some it's video, for some it's conversations, for some it's just reading. They also want choice about the product. What will they make at the end? I guess most relevant to you is they want a real world purpose. They definitely want that. And those students in the high school where I'm working who've been in programs, yes there's work experience, but even beyond work experience in other years, those students who've had the opportunity to work in industry just find it more impactful than their school learning, to be really honest. They love to talk, they love to collaborate, they love to talk, they love to debate, they love to suggest ideas, they want to get out of their seats, they want to move. They really want to build complexity, so they like to engage with experts, they like to have access to an expert and to know how what they're doing really applies. I mentioned earlier about the visually appealing. And this last one I put in there, I don't think the students necessarily would articulate this last one, but it certainly happens quite naturally when they have succeeded doing something that at first they really felt was too hard for them. And that sense of building self-efficacy spurs them on to engage again in something that was incredibly hard. I mean, I think we all would agree that's the same for all of us. And that's a pain. I thought I would show you. That's how I feel at the moment. Anyway, thank you very much.
Okay, that was fantastic. So insightful. Would you mind just popping over to the other presentation for me? I think we can all take amazing insights from Kate's talk and what she says certainly resonates with myself, and I'm sure all of the staff at Kimberlin and hopefully with you as well if you either have an education program or considering an education program, what teachers and students actually want and need versus what we think they need can sometimes vary quite greatly. So we are going to extend on that now a little bit more with our amazing teacher panel. So again, we are so blessed to have 4 amazing teachers with us this evening. Katie will be joining us again on the panel, and I have also got the bios to read of our other 3 teachers, so I'd like to invite you all to come and take a seat in the front for me now. We actually probably could turn the projector off during this interview. Okay, so I'll start here with Kate. So this is Kate Murray. Welcome, Kate. Kate finished her bachelor's degree last year whilst job sharing at both Artarmon Public School on RFF and Middle Harbour Public School on Year 6. She started at Killara Public School on Year 4 at the beginning of this year and will continue that role into 2018. As a teacher, she is passionate about showing children that it isn't all about academics, it's about thinking big, being solution-oriented and persisting. She really enjoys project-based learning because it allows all children to shine in their strengths and to grow from their peers. So please help me to welcome Kate Murray. Next we have Leonie Smith. Leonie has worked as a teacher for 17 years in London and Sydney. She started her career in southwest Sydney in primary and high schools. Began as an assistant principal at Bondi Public in 2009, where she has relieved as deputy principal and principal. Currently, currently leading a dynamic whole school wellbeing and learning support team at Rose Bay Public School as assistant principal for wellbeing. Please welcome Leonie. And we have Alfina. Alfina is a primary teacher of 11 years experience who's currently teaching at Our Lady of the Assumption School in North Strathfield. Alfina enjoys creating videos for her students to enhance their learning. She is a Google Certified Innovator, Class Dojo Australian Ambassador and Mentor, and an EduTech Ambassador. In 2016, she was named one of the Flipped Learning Global Initiative's top 100 K-12 teachers, leading Flipped Learning worldwide, and in 2017 she was named one of the top 40 Flipped Learning administrators and tech coaches worldwide. She has expertise in G Suite for education and iPad integration in K-2 education. And if you'd like to find out a little bit more about Alfina, she has her own YouTube channel. I'll share that with you, but it's Geeky Oz Teacher. FYI. Welcome Alfina, and Katie needs no further introduction. So this part of the evening is a little bit more casual. We've got a list of questions that I'll pose to the panel, and they can give their responses. And then in your invite, we did say if there were any questions that you would like to prepare and bring along, we'll open the floor to you as well. So what I might do is I might just start off with a couple of questions and then open the floor. And then if you're a quiet bunch, I'll keep going with mine. Otherwise, I'd much rather hand over to you so you have an opportunity to chat to these wonderful teachers yourselves. So, teachers, I think Katie provided some fantastic photo evidence of what was happening in schools, but the best question we have for you is that if we were to visit your classroom and take a photo, what would we see in that photo? What would you be doing? What would your students be doing? What does the classroom setup actually look like?
Organised chaos. I have a class of 25, only 7 of those being girls, so you would most likely see those girls working together or maybe split up into 2 smaller groups. Most often I'll start with the whole class and then they'll go on.
And I use Wellbeing from module spaces to organise my learning. I teach children the language of Wellbeing. So we do have our main campfire space and they learn that. That's where they learn to an expert, whether it's a teacher, whether it's somebody else. We do have our watering hole space and they learn that that's where they become both experts and learners, and they do have those spaces around. And then we go into the cave spaces and the students learn that they can create their own cave spaces. And how they present their learning to me after explicit teaching comes through their choice, their element of choice. They might have 4 choices, 2 choices, they might have 10 choices depending on the task as well.
I can bring through a few of those. In my context, I was in primary education for 16 years at a Google, not a Google, an iPad, an Apple distinguished school. So we were headed in the more innovative ways in terms of learning space. But now I'm in a desks and rows kind of class where I don't actually have my own room. So really a lot of what I have to do is based on my own teaching pedagogy. So I do tend to structure my lessons with that I do, we do, now that you do. And certainly there's a lot of choice, very much clear with the learning intentions and what the choices are, and the ability to negotiate those particular choices as well. But it's kind of a little bit of a mixture as well. But it's hard in a school that really still has the rows. So I do have kids sitting on the floor, and they move the desks and they stand. What I do is often clear off some shelves so they can have some standing desks. I sort of make do with what I can. A lot of the time it's hard.
Yeah, so I guess maybe reflect back on your own schooling journey and think, how what the teachers here have described has changed since when you were at school. If you've got your own children or grandchildren or friends with children, maybe have a chat to the teachers and say, are you practicing any of these innovative techniques yourself? So we need amazing teachers like this who are happy to dip their toe in the water and try innovative progressive techniques to really give the children those skills that we're referring to in the future. So I commend your work for that.
Like I said in my little bio, I am really passionate about teaching children. It's not just about academics. I hate the saying it's easy in my class because it may be easy for you because because you've already learnt it, but it's not easy for these people because they haven't already learnt it. And so I find that it's building the confidence of those low ones as well that is really challenging because they have these kids that are cleverer than they are and beating them down just with little comments.
I think one challenge that I've seen in the last few years is the trend that everybody's an expert in education because they've all been to school. When I went to school, this is what we did. Well, the idea of education is one of those things that have not changed. The rest of the world is changing, but education is not changing. And those who are trying to change education, there's few, and those that want to change education are being beaten down by the ones that want to keep it the way it is. I think that's a big challenge. I do work in a very innovative school, and from the moment a child is enrolled, they're brought through the classrooms and said, this is the way we do things. If you don't like it, there's a school up the road. And same as teaching staff. When I was employed, when I had my job interview, I was taken through the environment and I was said, this is the philosophy of our school. We're going to be innovative. If you don't like it, there's other schools to apply to. And I think it's up to the leadership team of schools to say, we need to change and ignore the pressure from parents who say it needs to be like this because we went to school 30 years ago and this is how it was. And I think that pressure from parents who are experts, apparently, you don't go to your doctor and say, I think I've got this. Don't worry about the fact that you've had an education.
Because whilst we are learning about change in pedagogy and change in the the workplace, the HSC is still trying to squeeze them into the same sausage factory. So there's this ongoing battle between that model that is didactic and where we should be going. That's another thing I was trying.
Yeah. Thank you. I've got one more question and I'll open up the floor, and this one relates to a lot of the industries that you will hear from this evening. So in 2008, the Ministerial Council for Education put forward recommendations on the importance of the points of schools working in partnership with industry, with government, with not-for-profits, with the corporate sector, to really strengthen those partnerships and to be able to provide opportunities to students to see the real-world application of what they're learning. So that was put forward in 2008. My question is, have you witnessed this? Is there a change? Have you seen a bit of a shift? And if so, what does it look like? What do you think those partnerships entail in terms of your schools and how your schools access them and become familiar with them?
Well, I was in year 9 in 2008. I haven't seen much, or at least I'm unaware of not seeing much or seeing a lot. So I'm going to let you guys have
I definitely see a lot of it in my school. A lot of the, there's a lot of TV shows that have a voting system and Shark Tank and things like that, and that's definitely starting to influence some of the programs that we do. Even STEM projects, we often get experts in to judge the process and the product. But internships are becoming more and more attractive, especially for our high potential learners. A lot of my role is to look for mentoring opportunities, and it's extremely hard to find. It's trying to get them mentors to sort of further their learning in areas of passion.
Keep them engaged.
Keep them engaged. Yeah.
Looking at one of the points in that paper you mentioned was about engagement with parents and students, and one of the biggest challenges we're finding is that, especially with dual wage earners, my husband and I are in a dual wage family, so getting the engagement from parents and carers is very difficult now, especially when you're trying to get excursion holders. And you need most support, like we went on recently to one where they only allowed the ratio of like 1 to 10, but system ratios for WHS is 1 to 5. So trying to get parent helpers to come help with us is hard because they've either got toddlers that can't run the toddlers, or we've got both parents working. I think that engagement is very difficult. The networking is very hard. It's probably a positive of being in the schools that I work in is that because you do have both parents at work, you've got that connection to draw from. But it's them, and they want to come in, they want to come help, they want to share their expertise, but doesn't actually like that work to come work in the classroom. I had one parent last year with Colgate who came in and did a kindergarten came with all the toothbrushes and toothpaste and did a lesson on how to brush the teeth. But that was a bit of like they would have that flexibility, whereas some families don't. I think that parent and community engagement, especially also with a lot of migrant families. I work in a very high EALD area, and we have a lot of non-English-speaking families, so trying to get them engaged in another layer. And we did that through buddy partnership families. We try to find a family that's bilingual to draw in that new rival family and get them involved. And we do initiatives like playgroup to get them involved, and we do a lot of after-school programs for parents, especially our family educator who works with a local parish with a school. There's a lot of Seasons for Growth is a grief program that late at night, we do a lot of late night things for parents to sort of get their engagement and then they can bring that into their the classroom and with their kids' lives.
Just one of the best partnerships I've ever seen is UNSW. Is anyone here from university? Yeah. So mathematicians and scientists in schools program, and we had a partnership with a marine biologist where she came into school and worked with classes and did a unit of work in science. So children would go down to the beach, would collect some samples and come back to school, and it was a huge unit of work. It was a really strong partnership because they were able to come into our school and have a long-term relationship with a class. So that was one really quality partnership with us.
Now it's a really great opportunity to ask you questions, get some insights, and hopefully it might be able to help you in the coming future. So,
what tools or how do we help teachers get cash out of parents is one of the big questions. Like, how can we help teachers get money from parents that are not engaging?
Have a lot of funding out in those areas. They get more money from the government, so they can use that money to fund programs.
And it depends on the school too. Some schools say once you use up your budget, you go anywhere you want. Some schools say you only have one excursion and one incursion. And it depends on the risk assessments too and the availability of parent numbers.
I think the hardest thing for you guys is that we get inundated with email after email, phone call after phone. I get those emails probably 5 to 10 a day from would you like to run that program, or I've got this play report. So if you can, pardon? We filter the phone calls with the front office, so they basically
the guardians of the galaxy.
Because we're just too busy to take them to go with us, but they often give us the message.
Sometimes the way it can be through the professional associations, so through curriculum coordinators meetings, so you're a room of all curriculum coordinators, and then you're one of the people speaking. Teach meets is another one. So those are meetings where teachers go and do a quick, maybe 3 minutes, 3 minutes,
3, 5 or 7 depending on the teacher.
blurb about some sort of practice or product, and teachers come to those voluntarily and they can take that information back to school.
I'm sorry, I know there's lots of questions, I just want to tap on my 2 cents. We have a very crowded curriculum as it is. We have so many things going on, so if you can tick more than one box, then we are more likely to, we will give you, whether it is, half a day, a full day, 45 minutes a week, we're more likely to take you on board if you can tick more than one box. We currently do an 8-week dance program. Next week we're cutting it down, next year we're cutting it down to 4. We just don't have the time in the curriculum to get an external company in to teach us 8 weeks when we do so many other things that we have external companies coming for.
My name is Rebecca, she's from Moriah University. And so I just want to ask for you guys in big picture, if you were to encounter a school, a teacher, school exec, and they had not yet shifted their pedagogy or their what approaches would you take? We had work with Kimberlin to develop some resources for parents, teachers, also the I guess the students as well. So would handouts work? Would try to convince the teacher, the parents that 21st century learning is important. I know you didn't do it like this, and I know that authenticity is important. So what would be the approach that you guys would take?
I actually worked in a school last year where they wanted to bring in a contemporary pedagogy approach, and that was my role. And with the help of some people, I was told to set a sandpit. So sandpit classroom was, which is like an example of this is what's possible. Come in here and experiment for the day, and have that opportunity that teachers don't do it in their room. They can come visit a place and they feel a bit more comfortable when it's non-confronted out of your environment. And that worked for a couple of teachers that I worked with that really enjoyed that fact that it wasn't in their room. They were to come and experiment and then reflect on it later. I think that's important. It's like crack teaching it, crack someone else's classroom and then feel a bit more comfortable and then figure out how they can then take it on board.
I would say data convinces, because if you're creating a call to action that has a variety of data sources that say the current model's really not working, and these are the people whose views we looked at, and these are the students that we are developing in the current model that is contrary to where they should be, then they're possibly more likely to shift when they realise we need to change because of all these data, this data ethnographic work, so really speaking to the students, speaking to their parents, speaking to the teachers, and then you've got sort of a case for change.
So you're looking at standards from next year. All teachers pre-2004 have to be on those ASL standards. So supporting anything you hand out, anything you produce as part of teacher education, and say these are the standards.
I'd like to add on to that point. I think it's an awesome point. I've been teaching 18 years into a variety of areas, and I think what I'm concerned about is when you have teachers who are new to teaching and they find courses that are under the guise of come and learn about comprehension, that they get there and it pretty much is just a sales pitch. So I think anything that's attached to professional hours, it needs to be top quality. It can't just be, okay, here's the professional hours part, but then here's what we'd like from you. Because I understand that. I understand it's also a business. But I think when you're sending out people who are new to teaching, you want them to be getting the best information that they can bring back to their classrooms and their colleagues, not going and, they're not really getting much out of it other than coming back with a catalogue.
And if you are considering professional development as a route that you might want to go down to support teachers, it's really vital that you find out the information. And there's 2 states in Australia now that have got a mandatory kind of endorsement process to support teachers in their accreditation. It's a very rigorous process that you have to go to get any courses approved. But we are anticipating that all of the other states are going to follow. So, there's a wealth of information that you need to consider to be able to provide something that the teachers are actually going to find valuable.
It has to be evidence-driven.
Yeah, and not to hug before, we have a NESO accredited course that we provided, and when we started developing it where the teachers at the front leading, and then we shifted the pedagogy. So shifting the pedagogy, doing what you want to see in the classroom was really key, and the teachers really, it was a little shocking to them, but they liked it. Yeah.
Hi, Jenny Hughes from the Royal Agricultural Society. I'm really pleased with our teacher professional development. We've been, having kids come to the show and doing year-round stuff for a long time. We've now also gone into NESA accredited, really to get back into the classroom and do STEM focus. Where are you going to be looking for those 50 hours? What are those sources and publications that you think as teachers you're going to be looking for that professional development? So we have the issue of bounce back emails and all the rest of it. In fact, everything is sent out until we engage with that one teacher. So I'm just looking to see how best to service that.
I look at from licensing perspective, we're trying to get all our internal PD NESA accredited. because there's obviously there's a lot of budget cuts happening. So being able to send a teacher on a weekday during the school term to a full day course, not only does it involve paying for that teacher, it also involves a casual teacher to relieve that. And so that's an extra cost on top of the $200 to $300 or sometimes even more. Having like school holiday sessions. I know the Brodie Society had Aussie Ed on board a few years ago. Yes, my sister was recently working, so I know a lot of things about the society. So that day at Easter Show, run by Rex Elias and the Aussie Ed team, was fantastic, and that was something we could put towards teacher identified. Because it was after hours, we didn't have to worry about knocking on our principal's door saying, "Can I please go to this?" After our school holiday things are fantastic. I don't know how other systems do it. I know that we have a big push. Everything's internal, everything is funded by our system. It's very hard to go to third-party courses unless it's in your own time and you can apply yourself. I can't speak for everyone else, but that's something that I know I love the school holiday courses. I love them. I know not everyone does, but that's the time that I get to go and learn something that I'm passionate about.
There is a gap in the market though, in terms of being accredited at highly accomplished or lead. So a lot of the courses are at proficient level. So, if you take it from that angle with schools, that if you can be accredited at the levels that address the requirements for highly accomplished or lead, you may, in there also. And I think starting next year, whoever's in charge of teacher accreditation in the schools will sort of be looking out for those sorts of courses, for those trying to get accredited at higher level.
Which obviously won't be as easy to be done as a school as.
But webinar and things like that can be a good way in, or coming in as a consultant can often work because then you could use the teacher's release time.
The problem with webinar is, like you said before, well, no, we really do promote hands-on learning and fun. We make teachers do what we make students do. You are down sharing a sheet or milking a cow. You know what I'm saying? So it's what we offer really needs to be hands-on. Yeah, so it's a really interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I do think the out-of-school hours is an excellent option. Especially when it's so hands-on, because teachers in the city wouldn't have that opportunity, so I think that really is phenomenal.
I think just to be mindful of the point that Alfina raised as well about having to knock on the principal's door and beg for professional development. There's something seriously wrong with that, and we know that there is no governing authority to say every teacher gets X amount of money every year to contribute towards professional development as it does in other industries. It depends on not only a system level, but it depends on the school level. Ultimately, leadership have that final say. And so some teachers, we've got incredibly dedicated teachers here that will pay out of their own pocket, do things in their own time. There's a whole stack of teachers out there who are not quite as passionate and are not going to dip into their own pocket. So considering costing and how you can get around that is definitely a key option.
The standards are changing, sorry. It used to be that, so I'm on the standard system, and it used to be that you have to do at least one, there's 7 elements, you have to have at least one standard in every single element and one in every single one in standard 6. When the maintenance period changes next year, it doesn't matter where it's from. So before you used to have to go up to look at my standards, I really have to do one in that standard. Where can I find heating in my school is providing it? So now it used to, so there is a lot more flexibility in how we can do our professional development, so just keep that in mind as well.
Hi, just to follow on to that too, I've been teaching for 17 years and I'm on the leadership team at my school, so I get to veto what course people go to. And with the new school planning, schools have strategic directions in the government system. And most schools now, all the training and funding that happens in-house, like I've been saying, has to align with those strategic directions. So if someone comes and says, I have an interest or a passion in agriculture and in our primary school and I want to go to courses and I want to take that class and I want you to cover me, some principals and leaders will say no, because our school's decided that our 3 core areas are A, B, C, and that doesn't align. So you've got 2 ways to it, like I've been said, looking at out of hours, online, webinars, where teachers who have a passion or interest can do it. It doesn't have to knock on their principal's door and get approval. Or word your courses and your things that may make people align with their direction. With agriculture, it's a bit obscure. It may not be someone's direction, but you might think of something like wellbeing or engaging with the students, which might be one of the school's overarching directions. That's one of ours. Yeah, so we've got one of ours inclusivity and wellbeing, and we look for courses that will support that. So just be mindful of that when you are looking at things, because the school's got limited money for TPL. It's good that most principals will say whatever we're doing between 9 to 3, or whatever we're spending that school money on to get casuals has to support those 3
And that's
directions.
for 3 years, right?
That's right, and the same.
plan is for 3 years.
And
so
it might just be the way you change your wording so that it can fit into a broader umbrella of a strategic direction. We're just about to start a new 3-year period too. So, it's hard for you to find out what your local school's directions are, but that might be something that if you can find out, you tell us what your 3 directions are and we'll see if we can tailor something for you to support your needs, rather than saying this is what we do and the schools are like, well, we've already put out 3 columns, it doesn't fit. So just being mindful of that. Because all of our teachers come along and go to a course that they've found on their own accord, on their interest, and we have to, don't have the money all the time, or casuals or the casual money. So we've made a commitment to supporting directions.
His eyes are lighting up. I'm more than likely going to go, yes, my 30 children would love to come there. Thank you.
And also, I guess some resources, some planning resources, like if we were walking the clipboard with our kid, if there was some sort of prompts. I know I did that when I was working in primary in terms of communication youth. And that made us look at a number of experiences.
Going off that. When I was running the before and after school care centres and we went to the zoo and similar places like that, we created it into a scavenger hunt as well. So going off that clipboard and those resources. I remember when we were in school, we were like, okay, going around the zoo, fill out this worksheet. It wasn't engaging, it was fun, it was a hassle, and we had to do it whether we went to the zoo, the aquarium, the botanic gardens, making those resources fun and engaging so the children want to do it. So we were fortunate that we had a 1 to 6 ratio when I was working with the after school. It was a vacation care program. So in those small groups, we could go around and do that scavenger hunt. We had to find this, we had to mark it on a map, we had to do this, mark it on a map. So not only were they engaging with the animals and learning about that,
We still have a student workbook, but we've moved our teacher stuff and student stuff online. And so we've got the lesson plans and interactive digital activities for the students to do. So I guess my question is, how do we, if teachers don't actually have anything tangible to take away with them, what's your suggestion around how we can promote the use of those post-visit lessons after, rather than them coming into them thinking that that's it, and they're just not doing any of the extended learning?
Maybe change it from providing the context and the content to open-ended questioning prior to, so that children, when they see you guys or go online or have Harold come in, they're actually going to ask you guys the questions that they a little bit more 21st century learning. The same tour on the zoo, it's still a little bit chalk and talk. So it's more entertaining because we have the animals and it's very exciting. But are the children actually investigating? Are they questioning? I think that's going to
bigger conceptual questions.
Like the shift from, as mentioned, like content consuming to content creating. So how can they use what they learn? They've learned the content from you. They've consumed that content. When they take it away, how are they then applying and creating those higher order SAMAR skills? How are they then moving into that? Maybe having some, with the post-visit suggestions, having a few ICT or having a few project-based tasks from there as well. And that opportunity to say, well, you provide us, okay, well, this is what we're teaching at the core, gives a bit of an outline, this is how you can extend the students, how you can support the students, and giving us a bit of the differentiation as well might help with some of that planning.
We just wanted to give you a little bit more information on some of the innovative practices that we're doing here at Kimberlin. So I'll pass over to Sarah again.
Starting with market research, be that a full academic piece of work or teacher surveys, focus groups, coming to events like this, getting yourself into a classroom, and knowing really what's going on for teachers is really first and foremost the very first step to coming up with a great education campaign. Excellent. So I think we've heard today that our teachers are incredibly busy, they're time poor, they're stretched in a lot of directions, and they have quite a bit of work on their shoulders already. So anything that you can do in your educational campaign that supports the teachers first and foremost. So linking to the curriculum, ensuring that we're getting the resources through ahead of time, that the information is reaching them. And I think something that I heard tonight was very much what supporting the teacher looks like is engaging with students. So what teachers are looking for are ways that their students are going to be engaged in the messages that you're looking to lead to curriculum and deliver to them. So these two really go hand in hand. The next thing is making it accessible, and I know I heard on the panel that we Google everything. That is something we hear day in, day out with the teachers that we're working with. So making sure your program is, at least in some component, online, because Google really seems to be, in all of the research we carry out, and we certainly do a lot, the first point of call for all teachers when they're looking for something, and perhaps they don't know what they're looking for yet, perhaps they know exactly what they're looking for, but making sure it's either online, in an app of some format, whether it be on your website, hosted on your website, or a standalone education website, but really optimised to be found. We've learned that it's not a case of you build it and they will come. Teachers need to know that this program exists, and they have enough other things to be doing, so that really calls to us and to industry to make sure that we're spreading the word and doing our marketing effectively, so that we let teachers know that these resources are important. And finally, impact evaluation. So I know a lot of you in the room have social and behavioural change messages, and that's really something you want to be checking back in on. So are the programs you're delivering increasing knowledge, ticking curriculum outcomes, changing the experience for students and making teachers' lives simpler? So you really want to check back in on those programs, ensure that's possible. It can be that with pilot programs, we have a number of our pilot teachers working with us at the moment in the room, or just checking back in on the program after it's been in the market for a period of time. At a high level, these are all things that Kimberlin Education can help you with. And if you're not familiar with the way we work, we think of it as like a creative agency. We have our creative team, we have our digital team, we have our client services team, but we also have a team of teachers in this room every day who are guiding our projects and ensuring what we're recommending, what we're delivering to you is what teachers are looking for. On that note, we also get asked quite a lot of who is creating educational programs. We just wanted to draw your attention here to the range of clients who are looking at educational programs and creating them right now. So government and statutory authorities, from the Department of Transport and Health, the Healthy Kids Association, to local councils like the Macarthur Regional Organisational Councils, the Human Rights Commission, through to the not-for-profit sector, so industry bodies like the Meat and Livestock Australia, Dairy Australia, through to registered charities, Planet Ark and the Candy Group. We also work with a number of different companies in the corporate space, because there is certainly a role to play for organisations like this. So we support on the Origin Energy Little Big Idea campaign. We work with the team out of Denmark on the Lego education, local marketing. We work with Australian Post, we have UNSW in the room, a number of you, thank you for coming. So you can see there's a breadth of opportunity for industry to get involved in education. I'd like to just quickly introduce you to Annalise Malone. She's one of our education managers here at Kimberlin Education.
I'm not going to take too much of your time because I do realise that we have gone over tonight, but for a good reason, because I'm sure that you agree with me that what we've heard here tonight has just been such a benefit for all, and wouldn't it be fantastic if this was increased and reached out into all schools across Australia and with industry and really have that connection. So what we have created, and I know some of you are already aware of our website, KU Teacher Connect, is a website where we can connect the industry to the classroom. And there are a lot of teacher resources out there, but what we think our point of difference is it's free for teachers to join, the resources on there are free, and they will have access to hear more about your organisation and what you can offer to school. So all these challenges that we've heard the teachers talk about tonight, this is the way that we feel that we can start to bridge the gap between industry and the classroom and work together to achieve the goal that all Australian students get the best education possible. So if you are interested in hearing a little bit more about Teacher Connect, please come and talk to either myself or Emily's another education manager at the back there. It is free for you to have your resources up on the website as well, and please feel free to come and chat to me. You can have some resources if they're free for teachers up in the resource section, any events, professional development that you have available for teachers, and also that connection that we were talking about. It's quite difficult sometimes, as we heard, for teachers to know who is offering these programs, and you do just want that connection to be able to call the organisation. So we can do that for you as well through the directory. So please come and have a chat to us afterwards if you do have the time.
If you had a few minutes, we have the key Teacher Connect loaded on a number of computers downstairs if you want to have a play with it, as well as a number of the other resources that we've created over the years if you'd like to see what's possible. Thanks.
We really appreciate your time. We know it's December, there's Christmas dues on, you're flat out, but we thank you. We hope you found it incredibly valuable. We again thank our teachers and our guest speakers for being here. They have got such a busy time at the end of the year. So to give up an evening, organise daycare pickups, everything else that they've had to do, we really appreciate it. We invite you to stay, join us for some drinks and then we'll have a play with resources. If you have to go and you've got some questions, shoot us through an email. Otherwise, thank you so much and have a wonderful, happy, safe holiday.